Has a single word, a dismissive glance, or an unexpected annoyance ever flipped your mood in an instant? 1 second you're fine, and the next, anger boils, frustration surges, and your peace vanishes. Someone cuts you off, throws a careless insult, or judges you unfairly. And suddenly, they're living rent-free in your mind. But here's the twist. They didn't take your peace. You handed it to them. What if you didn't? What if no one could push your buttons? Imagine facing criticism, rudeness, or life's curveballs with an unshakable calm. Untouched, unbothered, unstoppable. That's not ignoring reality. That's mastering yourself. That's power. In today's video, we're revealing 7 game-changing Stoic strategies that will free you from emotional hijacks and silence the chaos around you. These aren't fluffy theories. They're practical, battle-tested tools you can use right now to reclaim control and walk through life with clarity, composure, and confidence. By the end, you'll know exactly how to stay cool under pressure, untouched by negativity, and calm no matter what life throws your way. Ready to stop getting triggered? Ready to take back your peace? Let's dive in. Number 1. Understand that your reactions are your choice. Imagine you are having a peaceful day, maybe enjoying a warm drink or taking a quiet stroll, when someone suddenly throws an unpleasant comment your way or acts with complete disregard for your feelings. Instantly, that sense of calm you held slips away, replaced by irritation or anger. It's tempting to think, they ruined my day. But take a step back. Did they really? Or did you hand over your emotional state to them? The reality is that no one can dictate how you feel unless you give them that power. Life constantly presents challenges and inconveniences, but your reaction is always yours to control. Picture a ship navigating stormy waters. The waves may be fierce, but the captain decides the course. Likewise, the chaos of the world doesn't have to sink your peace. It only reaches you if you let it. Consider this profound truth. Between what happens to you and how you respond, there exists a powerful moment of choice. In that space lies your freedom, the opportunity to decide how you will react. Often, it's easy to let anger take the wheel when someone cuts you off in traffic or criticizes your efforts unfairly. But what if you chose to pause instead? That pause, brief as it may be, holds immense power. The ability to select calm over chaos and wisdom over impulsiveness. Picture this situation. During a meeting, someone dismisses your idea with a snide comment. Your first instinct might be to lash out or spend the rest of the day stewing in resentment. But what if you stopped, took a breath, and asked yourself, is this truly about me, or are they projecting their frustrations? Shifting your perspective can weaken the emotional grip such encounters have on you. This isn't about ignoring your feelings, but about recognizing that emotions and reactions aren't the same. You can feel anger without letting it dictate your actions. Building this emotional resilience starts with awareness. When something triggers you, first acknowledge what you're feeling. Identifying the emotion, be it annoyance, hurt, or frustration, can interrupt the automatic cycle of reaction. Then, question why you feel that way. Is the intensity of your response due to the event itself, or does it stem from how you're interpreting the situation? Finally, decide how you want to respond, considering your long-term peace instead of immediate gratification. Choosing to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively allows you to navigate life with greater ease and clarity. Imagine how freeing it would be to move through your days unaffected by others' negativity or thoughtlessness. The rude driver, the inconsiderate remark, the minor inconvenience. none of them would hold sway over you if you reclaim the power over your reactions. Every moment presents a choice. Allow external events to control your emotions or stand firm in your own peace. The next time someone tries to provoke you, remember, their behavior doesn't shape who you are. Your response does. And in choosing calm, you don't just maintain your composure. You embrace a freedom that comes from true emotional mastery. Number 2, stop letting others' words define your worth. Imagine standing before a crowd, heart pounding, sharing an idea that genuinely excites you. As you speak, someone interrupts with a dismissive remark, their words slicing through your enthusiasm. That spark of excitement falters, and doubt begins to creep in. Why do moments like this impact us so deeply? Why do we allow someone else's fleeting comment to dictate how we feel about ourselves? The truth is simple. Your worth isn't determined by another person's opinion. Yet, when you seek validation from others, you hand over the reins of your emotions to people whose perspectives may be clouded by their own biases, insecurities, or misunderstandings. True emotional freedom begins the moment you reclaim that power. Consider this. Someone criticizes your work harshly, not to help you improve, but to belittle you. Your instinct might urge you to defend yourself or internalize the negativity, letting it eat away at your confidence. But what if you paused? What if you reminded yourself, their judgment is theirs to own? It doesn't define me. By stepping back, you place a barrier between their words and your self-worth, refusing to let their perspective shape your identity. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once observed how paradoxical it is that we often prioritize the judgments of others over our own. We cherish ourselves, yet give more weight to someone else's fleeting thought. It's human nature to want to be liked or accepted, but it becomes problematic when that desire overshadows your internal compass. There's a world of difference between welcoming constructive feedback and absorbing toxic criticism. Growth stems from honest input that challenges us to improve, not from thoughtless comments that serve no purpose other than to undermine. Imagine holding a mirror that reflects not only your appearance, but also your self-worth. Would you allow a stranger, or anyone for that matter, to walk up and smudge that reflection with careless words? When you let someone's opinion define you, that's essentially what you're doing. Reclaiming your sense of value isn't arrogance. It's self-respect. It's understanding that external voices are just that, external, and that they don't have the authority to shape how you see yourself unless you permit it. Visualize walking through your day, shielded by inner confidence, unaffected by passing judgments or unwarranted negativity. When someone throws an unkind comment your way, instead of reacting immediately, take a breath. That pause, though fleeting, holds tremendous power. It's in that moment you can choose not to let their words sink in. Ask yourself, is there something constructive I can extract from this, or is it just noise? Not every opinion deserves your attention, and discerning which ones do is a skill worth cultivating. There's a profound freedom in not seeking constant approval. Letting go of the need for external validation doesn't mean you disregard all feedback. It means you develop the wisdom to separate valuable insights from empty criticism. The next time someone challenges your confidence, ask yourself, am I allowing their words to rewrite my narrative? Or can I hold on to what I know to be true about myself? In that choice lies your liberation. Strength isn't found in avoiding criticism, but in knowing your worth is stable, regardless of it. You don't need everyone's approval to validate your existence. The world will always have voices, some uplifting, others dismissive, but none of them should carry more weight than your own inner truth. When you anchor yourself in that truth, You move through life with clarity, resilience, and an unshakable sense of self. Number 3. Lower your expectations. Let's face it, most of us place too much weight on what others should do. We hope people will be kind, considerate, dependable, and just decent. But when they fall short, it catches us off guard and often sparks frustration. Here's an uncomfortable truth. If you want to stop getting upset so easily, you need to adjust your expectations significantly. Harsh? Maybe. Effective? Absolutely. Expecting too much from people is like setting emotional traps for yourself. You're just waiting for disappointment to spring. When you tie your happiness to how others behave, you hand over control of your emotions. Consider this. You assume a friend will remember your birthday, and when they forget, you feel hurt. You believe your coworker will handle their responsibilities, but they slack off, leaving you irritated. You expect your partner to sense what you need without being told, and when they don't, frustration boils over. The pattern is clear. Unmet expectations fuel unnecessary stress. So, how do you avoid this trap? Expect less. Realistically, not cynically. Years ago, I had a boss whose disorganization drove me crazy. She'd arrive late, miss deadlines, and pass the blame. I spent countless hours stewing over her behavior until a friend offered a game-changing perspective. Why expect her to be different? She's always been this way. That insight shifted everything. I realized my frustration stemmed not from her actions, but from my refusal to accept reality. Once I dropped that unrealistic hope, I felt lighter. Her behavior didn't improve, but my reaction did. Now, adjusting expectations isn't about becoming negative or indifferent. It's about being practical. People are human. They forget, mess up, and have bad days, just like you do. By acknowledging this, you free yourself from constant disappointment. For instance, if you assume someone might run late, you won't be as irritated when they are. If you need something from your partner, just say it. Mind reading isn't part of anyone's skill set. Here's the real kicker. Lowering expectations isn't giving up. It's reclaiming your peace. It means you no longer let other people's imperfections derail your mood. This doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. Boundaries still matter. But it does mean accepting that people won't always meet your standards. And honestly, why hold others to an ideal you don't always reach yourself? When you let go of impossible standards, you start appreciating life's small kindnesses. The friend who checks in, the stranger holding the door. These moments shine brighter when you're not burdened by constant letdowns. So start today. Not because people can't improve, but because you deserve a calmer, happier life. Release those heavy expectations, and you'll be surprised at how much lighter everything feels. Number 4, treat annoying people like toddlers. Here's a mindset shift that can change everything. Start seeing difficult people as toddlers. It might sound odd, but picture that loud coworker, overly dramatic friend, or pushy family member as a tiny child throwing a tantrum over a lost toy. Their behavior suddenly seems less infuriating and more ridiculous. And when you stop taking them so seriously, you regain control over your emotions. What makes this perspective so effective? Because in many ways, emotionally immature adults and toddlers share similar traits. Both lack self-awareness. Toddlers wail in public without knowing how disruptive they are, while some adults remain oblivious to how their actions affect others. Both are driven by emotions. Where kids cry when things don't go their way, adults may gossip, lash out, or sulk. and both seek attention. Whether it's a toddler yelling, "Look at me," or a grown-up stirring unnecessary drama. Instead of getting pulled into their chaos, approach their behavior with calm detachment. Let me share a story. I once worked with someone, let's call him Mark, who constantly made conversations about himself. Meetings became his stage, deadlines his playground for finger-pointing. At first, his antics frustrated me to no end. But during one of his self-congratulatory speeches, I had an epiphany. He's not out to get me. He just doesn't know better. From that point on, I treated his interruptions like a toddler's outburst. When he bragged, I'd respond with a neutral, "Interesting," the same way you humor a child describing their imaginary friend. When he shifted blame, I calmly redirected the conversation. And you know what? It worked. His behavior didn't magically improve, but it stopped bothering me. Some might argue that seeing people this way is condescending. But is it? If someone's acting like a child, responding with patience rather than anger isn't belittling. It's smart. You can't rationalize with someone stuck in emotional immaturity any more than you can reason with a kid refusing bedtime. This strategy isn't about tolerating bad behavior. It's about changing your reaction. Instead of thinking, "Why are they like this?" Ask, "What's going on with them that makes them act this way?" That small shift creates empathy instead of anger. You don't have to engage in their drama. Stay calm, use humor if appropriate, and maintain clear boundaries. Imagine handing them a metaphorical juice box and moving on. At the end of the day, staying calm isn't about fixing others. It's about protecting your peace. And if viewing someone as a tantrum-throwing toddler helps you stay grounded, why not? Your sanity is worth it. Number 5. Protect your energy by setting boundaries. Imagine you're deep into a busy day when someone reaches out, asking for a favor they could easily handle themselves. Or maybe a coworker casually drops their unfinished work on your plate, assuming you'll pick up the slack. You feel trapped, torn between wanting to help and knowing it disrupts your priorities. Why is it so challenging to refuse? The answer is simpler than you think. Protecting your time and energy requires setting boundaries. Without clear limits, you hand over control of your life to everyone but yourself. Many of us equate saying no with being selfish, but the opposite is true. Boundaries are acts of self-preservation. When you constantly put others first, you risk emotional exhaustion and frustration. Your energy is finite. Spend it wisely. Just as you wouldn't let someone drain your bank account, you shouldn't let them deplete your mental reserves. People often cross lines not out of malice, but because they're unaware those lines exist. It's your job to draw them. Consider the friend who calls you late at night, venting about the same problem for the 10th time. You care, but you're also drained. Instead of silently seething, try something like, "I value our friendship, but I need my evenings to rest. Let's catch up tomorrow." Simple, direct, and respectful. This isn't about shutting people out. It's about making space for yourself. Boundaries aren't fences to keep others away. They're signposts guiding how you want to be treated. Communicating them clearly avoids resentment and strengthens relationships. And remember, being consistent is key. If you waver, people will too. Your time deserves respect, especially from you. When you establish these limits, something remarkable happens. Life feels lighter. You stop overcommitting, guilt fades, and you regain control over your schedule and emotions. You realize that you're not responsible for fixing everyone's problems or absorbing their stress. Your peace is your responsibility. Next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, am I honoring my needs? Have I communicated them clearly? Protecting your energy isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. Prioritize your well-being, draw the line, and notice how empowering it feels to choose yourself. Number 6. Acknowledge your assumptions. When you find yourself upset by someone's behavior, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what was I expecting from them? More often than not, frustration doesn't stem solely from what the other person did or said. It arises from the expectations we've silently placed upon them. We carry around assumptions about how people should act, how they should speak, or how they should treat us. But reality doesn't always align with those assumptions. People are who they are, shaped by their own beliefs, habits, and experiences, not by our imagined version of them. This realization can be liberating. It doesn't mean you must accept mistreatment or tolerate disrespect. Rather, it's about understanding that much of your inner turmoil can be traced back to expecting someone to behave differently than they're capable of. Holding on to rigid expectations about others is like trying to force a river to flow in another direction. It's exhausting and ultimately futile. Why expend energy trying to change things beyond your control, especially when that energy could be better spent maintaining your own peace of mind? Think of how often we set ourselves up for disappointment. You expect a friend to remember an important date, but they forget. You anticipate kindness from a stranger, only to be met with rudeness. You assume a coworker will share your sense of urgency, but they seem indifferent. These moments of disappointment hurt not because of the actions themselves, but because they clash with the picture you painted in your mind. If you never expected that friend to remember the date, would you feel the same sting of hurt? If you acknowledged that strangers' behaviors are unpredictable, would their rudeness have the same impact? Accepting people as they are doesn't mean lowering your standards or allowing bad behavior to go unchecked. It means choosing to protect your emotional well-being by not letting others' actions dictate your inner state. When someone disappoints you, remind yourself that they're acting according to their character, not yours. Their behavior is a reflection of their choices, their upbringing, and their mindset, not a commentary on your worth or how you should feel. This shift in perspective doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice to notice when you're getting frustrated and trace it back to an unmet expectation. Over time, though, you'll find that by loosening your grip on how others should behave, you'll gain more control over your emotional responses. You'll begin to notice that many situations that used to upset you no longer hold the same power. Instead of thinking, "How could they do that?" you'll start to think, "That's just who they are. I don't need to let it bother me." At its core, this approach is about reclaiming your peace. Life becomes much lighter when you stop trying to manage other people's behaviors and start focusing on how you respond. You can't control whether someone cuts you off in traffic, speaks out of turn, or forgets a promise, but you can control how much space you give that frustration in your mind. Protect your peace by remembering that people act from their nature, not from your expectations. The sooner you let go of those assumptions, the freer you'll feel. Number 7. Stop letting others' words define your worth. Picture this. You share a thought or idea you're passionate about, only to be met with a dismissive comment or an eye roll. It stings. But have you ever paused to ask why words from someone else can have such a powerful effect? Far too often, we let the opinions of others dictate how we feel about ourselves. This tendency to seek validation externally is like handing over the keys to your emotional well-being. When your sense of worth becomes tied to approval from others, you're placing your self-esteem on shaky ground, vulnerable to the changing tides of people's judgments. Your value isn't defined by someone's careless remark or fleeting opinion. People will always have something to say, but that doesn't mean their words carry any truth about who you are. Opinions are subjective, colored by personal experiences, biases, and emotions. Letting someone's criticism determine your self-worth is like looking into a distorted mirror. It reflects their perspective, not your reality. When you depend on external validation, you set yourself up for an emotional roller coaster. Praise lifts you, but criticism crushes you. That's no way to live. Strength lies in cultivating an internal sense of worth, one that doesn't fluctuate based on outside voices. Detaching from others' opinions doesn't mean you ignore feedback or shut yourself off from growth. It means you develop the discernment to recognize which voices truly matter and which ones don't deserve space in your mind. Think about the most successful people you know or admire. Were they immune to criticism? Hardly. What sets them apart is their ability to stay grounded in their purpose despite naysayers. They understand that criticism often says more about the critic than the person being judged. If you let every offhand comment or negative remark sink into your heart, you'll be constantly at the mercy of others. When someone dismisses your ideas, you have a choice. Internalize their words and doubt yourself, or recognize that their perspective is just that. A perspective, not a fact. No one else lives your life, walks your path, or knows the full extent of your journey. Their limited view should never overshadow your self-awareness. Standing firm in your worth is an act of resilience. It's choosing to believe in yourself, even when others don't. It's acknowledging that you are not defined by fleeting opinions, but by your values, integrity, and growth. There's freedom in detachment. Not the kind that turns into arrogance or indifference, but the kind that allows you to remain steady in who you are, regardless of external noise. When you stop giving undue weight to what others think, you regain control over your emotions. You stop shrinking to fit someone else's comfort zone, or changing to gain temporary approval. Instead, you begin to live authentically, guided by your principles rather than fear of criticism. So, the next time someone criticizes you or belittles your ideas, take a breath and remind yourself, their words are just sounds passing through the air. They hold no power unless you hand it to them. Stay rooted in your truth, and you'll find that criticism loses its sting. Confidence isn't about being immune to negativity. It's about knowing who you are so deeply that no outside comment can shake that foundation. Final thoughts. If this message resonates with you, share it with someone who could use a reminder to find their calm. How do you stay centered when life feels overwhelming? Let me know in the comments. Emotional resilience isn't about avoiding challenges. It's about choosing calm over chaos and standing strong despite difficulties. Strength grows in those quiet moments when you pause, breathe, and respond instead of react. Every time you choose patience over frustration, you reinforce an inner peace that no one can shake. Over time, you become the steady presence amid life's storms, moving through challenges without being dragged down by negativity. Your peace is worth protecting, and with practice, staying composed becomes second nature. Until next time, protect your energy. Choose peace. Stay strong.